Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Chris Ortega, CEO of Fresh FP&A, and welcome to another Fresh CFO Fridays. Man, it's been an awesome week this week, and I want to give some people some time. Hey, what's up? My sister's on. I know we got some other people on. I just want to give a little bit more seconds. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. This has been it's crazy because I think this week it's like week number two of the new year. And one thing that I've been like conscious of is, and I've talked with a lot of people about this week, and they were like, Chris, man, how do you balance so much stuff? And like this throttling up from coming off of the holidays to like now getting to ramp back up into the business. It's only week number two, and I'm trying so hard not to go to like that fifth year. Because one of my great mentors and a great connection, Carl Seidman, he always has to tell me, Chris, it's a marathon. So like slow, like ease into it, get into it. So yeah. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I want to be conscious of people's time, but thank you for everybody coming out and seeing Fresh CFO Fridays. Before I start, I just want to tell people I got some LinkedIn messages, I got some Facebook, some other emails about what is the goal and purpose of what Fresh CFO Fridays are going to be. So every Friday, it's just really like my time. Last year, I spent so much time like individually with people. I spent so much time connecting that I just wanted to set like a consistent time every week, talk about different topics in finance, talk about different topics in FP&A, talk about different topics for fractional CFOs. And just really the goal is just to give back knowledge, share insights. We're going to start having guests on Fresh CFO Fridays as well too. I've already got some people reaching out saying, "Hey, Chris, love to collaborate and partner with you." But really, the intention around that is just to share those best practices, knowledge, tips to help you grow your CPA firm, to help you grow as a finance professional, and also to give you that fresh perspective on finance. So that is the goal and intentions around Fresh CFO Fridays. Um, Now, with that, one of the things I just want to like kick off the topic today that we're going to talk about are the three bad habits that fractional CFOs need to break. And some of these are going to be habits that I'm going to be honest with you. They're going to be some of them that I still am. I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm developing and I'm getting better at them. But for me, this is going to be my top three. Listen, I got three bonus ones for you as well too. So not only the three habits, but actually three extra ones. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. So let's jump right into it. So the first habit that I think a lot of fractional CFOs, and I'll give you a little story about myself. So I started off in public accounting. So started off in management consulting, started off in public accounting. That was really the breadth of experience that I had in like traditional management consulting, billable hours, and things around that. And then throughout the rest of my career, I was in the accounting, finance, CFO organization, building and growing high growth businesses. So I had a I was 3 years in Ernst and Young, and it's funny because like now a lot of the things that and I got to lead some audit engagements. I got to work with a lot of different clients, but really like the nuts and bolts and the foundation of running a consultancy, I didn't really get the behind the scenes around that. So fast forward 17, almost 18 years now, now I find myself in that same situation where it's like a lot of the foundational level things, if I'm being open, honest, and vulnerable with you, those are things that I'm just continue to learn, right? Like, continue to learn, continue to build as a business. So the first one that I want to share with everybody is that equating your time with money. I had a great call with a great friend of mine this week, and one of the things is I was starting Fresh FP&A and getting clients not only here in the U.S. but getting projects and building clients and having prospecting calls with people all across the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, kind of everywhere. And one of the habits that I had to get out of was equating the time that I would invest to the money that I was getting or the value to the client. One of my earlier clients that we got into a great time and material engagement. It worked out for them. But one thing, as we start building the momentum, as I started learning, as I started planning, as I started getting access to systems, all of the things that you kind of have that onboarding process with a new client. Once we got into the engagement, one thing that I started to see with that client was the reluctancy to like schedule meetings with me, right? And that reluctancy came from because they knew the hourly rate that they were charging every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, every hour conversation. It started to shift the conversation to say, man, Chris, I would love to talk to you about that. But maybe we can, expand our weekly check-in for 30 minutes and just add another 30 minutes to that. And I started to find that a lot of my client, and this just for this specific client, I started to find a lot of our interactions. It was like the meter when you're in a taxi, right? Like as soon as you get in the taxi, the taxi driver hits that meter and he's just like got that going. And for me, that was one habit that I was like, okay, this isn't, I know I'm providing a lot of value. I know we're helping the client get their finance organization together. We're helping them around their budget. We're implementing tools. We're getting their processes together. We're helping upskill like we're doing all the great things. But that turned the conversation and prospecting with the client to really feel like, oh man, like I don't want to nickel and dime them every time. So we got to a point where I was like, hey, maybe it makes more sense to and when we looked at the reproposal and the contract that we had, I really had a change of perspective. I'm like, I don't want to get back to that situation where the client is reluctant to schedule time or do things with the team because of the dollar value towards it, right? So one of the shifts that we made is a retainer model, right? I come from the SaaS space. So all of my SaaS is software as a service. That is primarily the accounting, finance, FP&A, and financial leadership that I grew up in. High growth businesses, seed, startup, scale up to enterprise level SaaS companies. And I was like, I want to take that same mentality that we had around for our customers in SaaS, where you get the service every month and you pay that set price. Here's the value that you're going to get, and that was a big transition that we made. And I sat across from the client. I said, look, I know we're delivering great value to you, and we're going to continue to do that. So I switched over from a billable hourly tracking public accounting kind of thing over to a retainer model, and it was super valuable for the client, right? Because at the end of the day, we knew exactly what we're going to provide. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to support. Here's what you can expect from our team consistently every single month, and that's the value that we're going to give, right? And now it took that weight off of nickel and dime time. It took the weight even off of my team of like time tracking in the time tracking tool that we were using to like document everything. It took a lot of that out. So I think that's one very, very important habit that fractional CFOs need to break. Stop equating your time with money. Start equating your time with value that you're providing to your clients. The second one is I struggled with this one earlier on. If you can't tell, I am a super passionate person. I'm very particular at Fresh FP&A, and my team is. We're very particular about the clients that we work with. Honestly, that's one luxury that I see. And I was having a lot of conversation with other fractional CFOs this week across the world. And that was one thing I heard from all of them was that opportunity to be like, hey, I know what clients I want to work with. I know what clients I'm passionate about and which ones I'm not, right? So the second bad habit that fractional CFOs need to break is not setting boundaries. When I got those first couple clients coming over to Fresh FP&A and my teammates started building their book of clients that they were starting to acquire, right? Setting the proper boundaries, right? And this for me was like difficult because when it started in one client that I had, it was a very like this was a great, it came from a word of mouth referral for somebody that I used to work with that was actually in customer success and operations. And they were like, "Hey man, I know Chris Ortega. Like I worked with him before. He started Fresh FP&A, and like he made the connection to it. And instantly, like with this client, like right out the gate, it was a lot of like impromptu meetings. It was after hour calls. It was on the weekends. It was like, hey, Chris, I got this idea that I want to run across. And he's leading a high growth SaaS business that basically focuses on retail and e-commerce, specifically around Google ads. So like that's what he's specifically doing and building his whole business around that. And one of the things is like it was starting to be like interfering, right? Like I'm on a call and I'm getting blown up on text, and like he's saying, Chris, let's jump on a call in 15 minutes, or he's got this great idea that he want to talk to her over the weekend. And I'll be honest with everybody, right? I did not. I pride and our team prides ourselves on providing kind of like that white glove, very intimate service for our customers and clients, and that was tough, right? Because I didn't set, and as a leader, I take full responsibility for this, right? I did not set the proper boundaries up front, right? Now, in having that conversation, it got to a point, and as you've grown up in finance, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have as well. Like, you got to have those conversations, right? You gotta sit down and say, look, this isn't working for myself and my team. We need to find a way that we can set up a more consistent schedule, and more consistency and frameworks around how we communicate. So that was really really important as well too. So setting the proper expectations, I think, is like really 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 important in setting those boundaries. The third one is you can't fix everything. So I think the third bad habit that a lot of fractional CFOs need to break is you're coming in to lead that finance organization, right? And again, I my passion is my one of my greatest skill sets, but it is also something that I know gets me into a lot of trouble. And for me, it was not only in the finance organization in working through like how do we build our processes, how do we make sure we're leveling up their skill set and their team, how are we approaching the value proposition inside the organization, how are we looking at tools and technology, just the whole framework, and then also like the finance organization looking around it, right? And looking at that piece of it of like this is where we're going to provide value, but it started to branch off into, hey Chris, like we'll love to pick your brain on this marketing idea that we have, or hey Chris, we'll love to have this opportunity to talk to you more about how we can roll out NPS to really help our net dollar retention rate. And it's like started to move outside of the finance organization, and I started to branch off into these other different like almost like side projects inside the business, which to me, looking back over my career, that has always been like my value add. Is like I'm not just going to be the one. We're not going to be the one just providing the updates and the reports and how we're tracking the budget and forecasting. We're going to be branching out. But one thing I started to find myself in is like I'm spreading myself too thin. Like I'm trying to solve all the problems inside the business that they have. Like I'm trying to solve their lead generation problem. I'm trying to solve like a net dollar retention rate problem. And I'm in all of these micro projects. And yes, I'll be honest, right? And the idea of like, and I had to learn this, right? The idea of scope creep was that was 100%. And this is for all my project management people out there. Like I heard of scope creep before, but like in this situation with the client, it was 100% scope creep. Like the scope became, here's what we're going to be providing. We're going to be leading your finance organization. We're going to be helping around your quarterly board decks. We're going to be, helping you look at strategically in your go to market strategy after you just raised a pretty solid Series A round, right? This is what we're going to be doing. But it quickly, over the course of months, spanned out to be all these other different things, right? And I found myself in a situation where I'm like, can't fix all their problems, man. Like, I can't do that. And I'll be honest, a lot of the mistake I made is because I took the mentality that I had when I was leading a finance organization, right? Like when I was leading a marketing cloud company all the way through acquisition to SAP, that's what our finance organization did, right? We branched out in the business. We were working with sales, we were working with marketing, we were working with operations, we were working with client success. We were working throughout the business. And that didn't translate over to my fractional CFO business, right? Because you can't realistically solve all the business's problems. So the way to fix that is I sat down with the client. I said, look, we have our team, myself, my team, we're branching out into a lot of different areas of the business. Let's sit down together and let's develop quarterly OKRs and how we want to tackle this. And let's look at Q1, let's look at Q2, and let's look at the projects that we can commit to work on, and that we can consistently deliver the value that you need, right? And that was a great conversation because now it gave them more consistency of like, okay, I know that Fresh FP&A, Chris and his team are going to be helping us in Q1 with these initiatives, right? They're going to track it, they're going to monitor, they're going to give us feedback. This is what they're tackling, right? And then in Q2, and now for the conversations when it became like those ad hoc, hey Chris, can you dabble in this or can you go look at that? It was like, hey, we agreed and we defined and we looked at them. We're happy to do that, but I want you to know that that falls outside of the original scope and the original deliverables and value that we provided. We're happy to do that, but that's going to be a separate engagement, a separate conversation that we need to have, right? And that gave more consistency to it. That gave more clarity. That even helped with that bad habit number two of setting those boundaries, right? Um, which is hugely important. So that's point number three as a fractional CFO that you need to break. You cannot in your team, you can't fix everything in the business. So those are my top three bad habits, but we're fresh here. We're Fresh CFO Friday. So I want to give you three extra ones. This is the bonus one. So for all those people here, it's bonus three. The first one, too many cooks in the kitchen. What do I mean by that? So listen, I have been, doing consulting, doing thought leadership, doing fractional CFO work, and that level of work as a part-time basis 6 or 7 years ago. So I had my big boy job where, like I'm a VP of finance, I'm leading the finance organization in the company. And, Fresh FP&A at the time wasn't even Fresh FP&A, it was just like my side hustle. And that was 6 or 7 years ago that I was doing that, that it was just my side hustle that I was doing. Right now, getting into it full time, and shout out February 1st, it would be a 1 year anniversary of me focused on Fresh FP&A from a full time basis. So I don't know what day that falls on, but I can tell you that check me out on LinkedIn, Twitter, every social media avenue. There's going to be like a celebratory video off of that. So that's going to be huge. But too many cooks in the kitchen. I struggle with this, right? And I struggle with this because you have conversations with other finance leaders, other CFOs, other people that are either early in the game or even later stage in the game that's been in this a long time, right? And you're looking at all the great things that they're doing, right? You're just like, man, I'm not doing this. I need to be better in the business development side. I'm not articulating my message here. I'm not developing this. Like you start to get all those cooks in the kitchen. And one of the things it starts to do to you is like you start to realize all the gaps that you have, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm laying the cards out, right? I found myself sometimes that I was demotivated. Like it demotivated me because I'm like, dude, there is so much that I don't know. And there's so much knowledge that I'm getting from people that I know I need to get better at. But at the same time, like having all those cooks in the kitchen, it starts to detract you away. It's like, okay, I know that these are gaps. I know that these are things that I need to get better at. But here's also the things that I'm really providing, and our team is really providing value to our clients in the industry, right? And I think this can, not only for fractional CFOs, but I think this can also translate over if you're a full time professional in accounting, finance, FP&A, or you're a CFO. I think the too many kitchens in the concept as well, like translate over into social media, right? You see so many people with like 10,000 followers, or I don't know, name the followers and likes and reshares and all these different things, and you start to look at that in yourself. And I struggle with this, guys. Like I'm not saying like I'm like I've got over this, right? I still have my days where I'm like, man, like I need to be pushing harder. I need to be doing better. And like how can I learn and get better and do these things better to help grow our business or grow those things? But the thing about it is like you need to take that step back and say, you know what? Those are great things, and I've identified those gaps. But let me plan to see how I address those. Right now, it becomes like not a demotivation of like I'm not doing this. It becomes a plan to say, no, I have this gap, but here's when I'm going to tackle this. And another piece of it that is bonus number five off of that is when you identify those gaps, learn how to scale. Man, I was talking to so many great like finance and fractional CFOs this week. And if there's number one tip out of this whole thing to give you, scale. I talked about it in the first episode. So if you want to see that first episode, stay at the end. There'll be a video up here tagging you to show that first Fresh CFO Friday where we talked about scaling your team. So when you see that gap, right, with the too many cooks in the kitchen and you devise that plan, you got to think about it, right? Like if you got a firm of yourself, maybe you're a solo entrepreneur, or maybe you're a solo entrepreneur and you have like 1099 contractors that are helping support your business, which is what we have at Fresh FP&A in different roles, right? We got CFOs in that role, we got directors, we got managers, we got all the way down to like junior financial analyst people that we help support different projects and different clients. That's kind of the structure that we have at Fresh FP&A. When you know those gaps, learn to scale, because the number one thing is, and this goes for yourself and your team, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or you have a team underneath you, right? I tell my team and I tell myself honestly, right? I want to get to like that 60 to 70% knowledge of a certain area, right? Like I want to and this is probably going back throughout my professional career. Like I was never like the master of three things. I was always like the jack of all trades. Like I love to know HR, I love to know legal, I know love the contract. Like I love to dabble in all these things to have like a universal knowledge, which is that 60 to 70%. Really not 60, 70%. Because if you look at that from a grading scale, that's like you're like, people are like, Chris, that's an F, bro. Like if you're trying to get 60 to 70%, you're getting Fs, bro. Maybe, okay, 60 to 80. Fine. Okay, 60 to 80. Now that gets me to like the B minus range, right? But when you look at that, think about the scale that you can bring on that can get you that extra 20 to 30%, right? And these are experts. So look at it from the philosophy of a client coming to you, right? They're coming to you for your expertise, right? They're coming to you. The clients come to us because we know how to build, shape, and scale finance organizations from seed all the way up to enterprise level companies. I've led companies through acquisition, from seed all the way through acquisition. So they're coming to you for that value, right? They're coming to you for that expertise because maybe in their organization they got that 60 to 80% knowledge. But to get that 20, 30% to help them really scale, transform, and build their organization, either they get that in house or they get that from a fractional person. You got to think about that same mentality for your business, right? And that's what's been able to help me, really say, okay, I've got this gap. Let me try to get as much knowledge as I can and bring on an expert that has the skills, passions, talents, experience, and know how to help accelerate myself and my team for that extra 20 to 30, that extra 20, 30%, right? Like I want to get us in the red zone, from the football analogy. I want to get us in the red zone, but then I want to bring in that all-star running back or wide receiver to score that touchdown at the end. That is a great one. And that's the bad habit that you need to break. Point number five. And the last bonus one, and for me, this is really, really important. I've never struggled with this because right out the gate in building Fresh FP&A, the number one thing for me is quality of clients and value over quantity, right? I was doing a podcast and somebody asked me the question, and I get this question all the time, from people, and she asked me, she says, Chris, what is your goal for Fresh FP&A? Like, are you trying to grow this to be like a, $5 million business, $20 million business? How many book of clients you want to have? Like, and she's sitting there like throwing me all these numbers. And I was sitting there, I was I don't really think about my business as like, oh man. I was talking to another fractional CFO this week, and he's like, Chris, what are the things you're chasing in 2023? Three of them are all around community people and community people and expanding the knowledge inside the fractional CFO space. Three of my five, like, and only two of them, really like one of them, are really financially driven. And to me, I think a lot of times when you're building your fractional CFO business, right, you got to look at it like there's only so many clients that you can realistically serve, right? Like we all have bandwidth, right? And I tell my team this all the time. I'm like, look, there's only so much, because once you start teetering over that quantity side, quality starts to go down, the value starts to go down. Like, don't do that. And plus, at the end of the day, like I got into running Fresh FP&A because I wanted to run and work with great clients. I wanted to work in great industries and provide tremendous value. I wanted to chase, and shout out to my sister on this. She's the number one person that got me on this. I wanted to chase purpose over praise and over profits, right? I wanted to chase my passion and people over like getting as much money in the fractional CFO business as possible, right? And some people, I'm not knocking you. If that's your motivation, right? You want to use this as a retirement, you want to grow your fractional firm or grow your business to millions and millions of dollars, do it. Like I'm rooting for you and I'm cheering for you. But for me, like the quality aspect of relationships, the quality of clients that we're helping, the quality even of people and people to help support the team, like that's the most important, right? Because one thing I've learned in SaaS businesses and growing them, right? We always would say like the first 150 people that you bring a part of your organization, that you work with, vendors, everybody. That first 150 touch points inside of your business is going to define that business like on a go forward basis, right? That's going to be the foundation from a people and a partnership perspective that's going to expand. That is everything that that business is going to rest on. And that really resonated to me as building Fresh FP&A was like, man, I'm not chasing the quantity of it, right? And there's some fractional CFOs and there's some other people that I talk with, and they're just all about new customer acquisition, right? They're like growth, 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 growth. And I'm like, hey man, cool, dude. Like if I have clients in your ICP that they come to me and maybe they're in manufacturing or somebody else that's not in our ICP and who we serve, happy to do that. But don't get into that routine of like chase, 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 quantity, 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 right? Look at the quality aspect. And that's from my perspective. So those are the fresh CFO three bad habits that fractional CFOs need to make with a bonus edition because I love everybody that sat through and watched this with those extra three. So I'll repeat those off again. The first one is equating your time to money. It's a bad habit to break right off the gate. The second one is not setting proper boundaries. The third one is you can't fix everything inside the business, right? Those are my top three. And full transparency, those are ones that I continue to learn, develop. Those are the ones that I continue to stress to my team that they need to get improve upon. And then the bonus three is don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. And learn, get as much wisdom as possible, but set that plan of action and how you're going to address that. Which brings into the fifth one in scaling that operation, right? Like, if you want to have that subject matter expertise, that extra 20 to 30% of that knowledge, that is typically where you're going to spend most of the time. Bring in partners, bring in people to help you scale that. And the final one is, chasing quantity over quality. So those are my bad habits that fractional CFOs need to break. Thank you so much for watching. If you know anybody or if you want to learn more about Fresh FP&A and how we can help transform and scale your finance organization, check us out at www.freshfpa.com. We're happy to serve. We're taking on new clients. My team is they're focused on building the operations and we're focused on delivering a great client experience to help all of those different high growth SaaS businesses that are looking for that fractional leadership and looking for those finance professionals that come with the batteries included. They come with the skills, they come with the passion, they come with the talent, they come with the experience, and most importantly, we come with a fresh perspective to give you. So check us out. And yeah, that is Fresh CFO Friday. So thank you so much. I want to take this time out, 30 minutes. Look, right on it, right? We got started a little late, and it's like I look at the clock and it's like 30 minutes right on the spot. So at this point in time, I want to open it up for anybody watching. Any questions, comments, clarifications, any of those bad habits resonate with you, drop them in the comments and I'll look through those. Okay, so shout out to my sister. And if I'm looking over here, guys, it's because I have it right here. Actually, let me just bring this. I can just bring this right here so that way it doesn't look weird for everybody. All right, so the first one, my sister asks, shout out to my sister, huge support. regarding scope creep, objectives of projects can change. How do you remain flexible to adjust to those changes? Great question. So I think a part of that flexibility is, when those things do change, it's not immediately saying no. The worst thing that you can do when you're working with a client and scope creep is like it's starting to pop up, you're starting to see it, is immediately like, nope. It's like the whole thing like when you got a job and you look at your responsibilities and that person that's like, nope, this falls outside my responsibility. Like, let's be honest, nobody likes working with that person, right? Like and I'm not throwing shade, but if you are that person, right, people probably don't like you, right? So a lot of it is like, hey, all right, I see this coming up. Let's reprioritize. So me, I like to go through that reprioritization exercise. Revisit what you already agreed to, right? We agreed to we agreed to do A, B, C, and D. It seems like E and F are becoming more pressing projects or initiatives that you need to get done. Let's work together to reprioritize what are the top level priorities and objectives that we need to get done, right? And then you redefine that, and then now it's just an amendment to that original agreement that you had. But it's always about conversation. The worst thing that you can do in that situation is look back from that client and say, "Hey, look, I know you're asking for this, but we agreed to do this, so we're not going to do this, right?" Because at the end of the day, right, you want to give a great experience. So to me, that is how at Fresh FP&A we would address that scope creep and that communication and that reprioritization with our clients. Great question. What other questions do we have? Let me see if I can check. I can't even check to see. Thank you. Any other questions? Anything you could ask, whether it's CFO related, finance related, ask any questions. I wish I could see who's actually in here. It's one thing I cannot do. It says 6 people, but can't really see who those 6 people are. Okay. Well, it looks like there's no more questions. Hey, thanks you everybody for staying and looking at this episode of the Fresh CFO Fridays. Just as a reminder, every Friday from 12 to 12:45, we're going to be, going live, talking about different topics. I'm focused on at least this month to bring in a topic. I got a great fractional CFO that I'm hoping to work with, and we can bring you more conversations because I know the gap for me is like, listen, the gap that I have, and this is a great resource, is around like the nuts and bolts of building it, right? Of building a consultancy. So, looking to bring in some resources because I know there's probably other people struggling with that as well too. Also, as well too, we're trying out different platforms. So, like YouTube Live is good. We're probably going to have some Zooms and everything around that. So if you want to stay updated, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Click the notification bell. That way, you're going to get any communications around that. And then as we start bringing in more people, also follow me on LinkedIn. It's just Chris Ortega, or you can type in Fresh CFO on LinkedIn. Follow me there. Click the notification bell on my profile. You'll get all updates on things that we got coming and events that we have. We got some great things coming on for Fresh FP&A this year. We got some conferences coming on. We got some great partnerships that we're bringing on. Doing a lot more expansion. I'm teasing out. So you guys are the first people to hear about this. There's going to be some learning courses coming along. Can you imagine that? You're going to be like, what? We're going to harness this guy's energy in learning courses? Let's go. So much great things that Fresh FP&A is going to be bringing you this year with the whole intention of empowering and enabling you to be a great fractional CFO, a great finance professional. So more to come. Follow us on all of our socials, Fresh FPA, all the socials. You'll have all the updates there. Make sure to connect with us on LinkedIn as well too. You get all of our updates too. So thank you everybody for your time. Happy Friday. Enjoy your Friday. Be safe and well and have a great weekend. Thank you so much. And as I always end every video, keep pushing, never settle, and the best is yet to come. Let's get it.